You are listening to Central Indiana Sports Central, your daily update on the Pacers, Colts, IU, Purdue, IndyCar, the Fever, Ball State, Butler, and, of course, the best high school sports coverage in Central Indiana.
You're listening to the Central Indiana Sports Report with your host, Greg Mengels.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, Central Indiana sports fans, and welcome to the Central Indiana Sports Report's Central Indiana Sports Central, where we talk about what Central Indiana sports fans are talking about. On today's Central Indiana Sports Central, we talk to Will Retherford about a Colts trade, kind of a surprising one, to Stephanie Bloom, head coach of volleyball state power Yorktown, whose team beat Shelbyville in their conference opener on Monday to improve to 4-1 on the season with 4 straight wins. Then I spoke with our Fever guy, John Robertson, as the Fever look to end their losing ways at home on Tuesday night to Seattle. And finally, I spoke with our IU guy, Grant Shouse, just 5 days away from the Hoosiers season opener coming off last year's magical season. And he is going to preview Tuesday's IU report, where he and Mike Hutsell predicted the best case and worst case scenarios for every game in the upcoming season. Sorry if I sound a little under the weather, it's because I am. Also coming out Tuesday evening is Strictly Biased with Will Retherford, where we talk more Colts and a lot of Fever, in particular the WNBA and the suicidal path it seems to be taken, plus a little bit of baseball, Reds, Cubs, and El Central. Late Tuesday, we will have our first football report of the year. We will get reports from Rob Hunt of the Herald Bulletin, Scott Hunt of the Marion Chronicle, Richie Hall of the Hamilton County Reporter, and Jay Stevens of the Kokomo Post, plus our players of the week and our first power poll of the year with the new additions to our coverage area. It's going to be tough just to get in the top 20. Again, that is Tuesday evening, assuming I am not too sick to do it. Your Central Indiana Sports Central update begins now. Here's a clip from Strictly Biased with Will Retherford on the Colts' newest acquisition.
Greg, I have a lot to talk about this evening, but first, what would you like to know?
I want to know, Will, if you've seen that the Colts have made a trade this evening.
I have not seen that. What is that all about?
The Colts have traded a 6th-round draft pick for another Minnesota Viking defensive back, Mehki Blackmon. Already a pretty good-looking defensive backfield room. I don't know much about him, but they've made a trade.
So funny, as I have been on Twitter.
46 seconds ago, according to my Twitter.
Mehki Blackmon. You know what? I think that's interesting. I want to know if that has anything to do with Wally missing the entire year with the ACL tear. If they're just not happy with what they've got so far. That's quite interesting. I would say if there's anything they needed to trade for, it would not have been
That'd be the last
DB.
thing, wouldn't it?
I would say that's probably their deepest and best positional group right now. If we're really going just top to bottom as far as what they've got, if they find that this is a player that can have the most impact on their team, I see no reason why you shouldn't go out and get him. I mean, we've got 7 corners. We have 11 DBs. You've got
let me tell you about Mehki Blackmon real fast. He did not play last season. He was injured. The year before, as a rookie in 2023, he had 34 solo tackles, a fumble recovery, and interception. So pretty productive as a rookie before being injured last year. Former 3rd-round pick out of USC.
I think it's an opportunity to get a player that might be a potential starter down the line. You get him for a 6th-round pick. Obviously, he was taken in the 3rd round just 2 years ago, and he's a cheap alternative. You've got Ward, Kenny Moore, Jalen Jones, Xavier Howard, Juju Brents. You're talking, that's 5 deep, but with Lou Anarumo, there's a good chance they run a lot of dime. I mean, right. They've got 6 DBs on the field at the same time.
You might as well play 25 defensive backs. Right?
I think that's part of the reason that I really expect the Colts are probably only going to carry 4 linebackers coming into camp, or out of camp. I just think that they're going to play a ton of dime, and I think, honestly, the way this roster is constructed is probably the best thing for them.
It might be. And that's only because it's the way the roster's constructed. It might not be a really good way to go. Yorktown Volleyball won its 4th straight match on Monday night, defeating Shelbyville 25-7, 25-12, 25-10 in its Hoosier Heritage Conference opener. It's the 4th straight win for Yorktown, and here is legendary Yorktown head coach Stephanie Bloom. Welcome back to the Central Indiana Sports Report. Yorktown Volleyball head coach Stephanie Bloom, whose team won their 4th match in a row tonight to improve to 4-1 on the year. Coach, what did your team do well tonight?
Well, it was our first conference match, so good to get that under our belt, and we were really trying to focus on limiting our unforced errors. We had a goal to keep that under 6 each set, and they achieved that, so I was proud of them for that.
Coach, you started the season with a loss to Westfield. Of course, all 3 sets were very competitive, so you probably don't take a negative look at that. Young team, lost a lot of talent from last year. What kind of expectations do you have for the year?
Yeah, I mean, we had a surprise injury at the end of summer with our junior setter tearing our ACL, and so our first 2 weeks we're trying to scramble and get things together. And so, I think the Westfield match, it was good to get out and play, but the reality is we've been together for 2 weeks, and your setter and hitter connection is so important, and that takes time. And so, we're really trying to keep our heads in the right space and know that it's a process, and we're trying to raise the bar each day. I think we are new in so many areas. Really, our only returning starter is Chloe Ritchie, and she's a sophomore, and she's not in the same position as she was last year.
Right.
So when you look at it from that standpoint, everybody is in a new position. We've got 2 freshmen on the floor, 2 sophomores on the floor, and then juniors, and then 1 senior. And so they are learning a lot. They're hungry to learn. They're hungry to grow. They work hard. They're fun. They're a really fun group because they're selfless and they're for each other. So it's really actually been fun to see their improvement from week 1 to even now.
Yeah, since the loss to Westfield, a sweep of Brebeuf, a 4-set win over Belmont, and a sweep of Avon. That's 3 really nice wins.
Yeah, I was really proud of how they responded after Westfield. We cleaned it up a lot when we played Brebeuf, and I think that gave us some confidence. And then going into Saturday, playing back-to-back, matches against some quality teams, it's good for us. It's good for, freshmen, their first time playing people and playing against big schools. There's a lot to learn, and as a freshman setter, man, she's getting thrown into the fire. Trial by fire is what this is for her, and she's learning on the fly, and I've just seen so much gain in her in just a few short weeks. And so I think that's been great, and I think it's given our kids a lot of confidence too.
Coach, another conference match on Tuesday. The unbeaten Delta Eagles host you on Tuesday night. What are you expecting from that match?
I think it'll be a dogfight. I always joke, like, going into Delta, it's just going to be wild because it's the rivalry of Yorktown Delta, and the student sections will, they'll be all fired up. And so it can at times be a tough environment to play in. And I think they'll be gearing up for us, and we'll be gearing up for them. So I expect it to be a heck of a match.
Yorktown head coach Stephanie Bloom, thank you so much for your time. Always appreciate it.
Thank you.
The Indiana Fever are hobbling into Tuesday night's game at home at the Fieldhouse in beautiful downtown Indianapolis against the Seattle Storm, having lost 2 straight, 4 of 6, and 6 of their last 8. And they are teetering on the brink of the playoffs. In fact, they are tied for the 7th spot, which means 7th and 8th, the final spot, with the surging Los Angeles Sparks right behind, just a game behind the Fever. So it's a must-win tonight against Seattle. Here's our Fever guy, John Robertson, with a report. Welcome back to the Central Indiana Sports Report. Our Fever guy, John Robertson. John, has the fever spirit been beat out of you yet?
I'm not very optimistic. I'll be honest with you. I'm really not very optimistic. I still love them. I love them as a team, and I would love to see them have success. I think we're flirting with not making the playoffs.
No doubt about that. If Caitlin doesn't come back, I'm not even sure why you'd want to make the playoffs at this point. But that being said, the Storm come to town on Tuesday. The game's on the CBS Sports Network in the Fieldhouse. Tickets as low as $13, according to ESPN. That's kind of a big one if they are going to make the playoffs, right? That's a team that they're right there with.
I think that it's a team that they could get the win on. I think that you can beat Seattle. They just have to, they can't make any mistakes with the lack of depth they have right now. I do think Caitlin tries to make a return. I really do think she does. I don't know if I want her to at this point, honestly.
He has been ruled out for Tuesday, by the way.
But I do think that she's going to try to make a comeback for the season. If I'm the front office, I kind of wonder if it's worth just shutting it down and seeing what happens. Because even if you make the playoffs with Caitlin Clark, is that enough to overcome all of the adversity they've had?
They'd have a pretty good starting five, John.
Of course, yeah, absolutely. I think they would. With Kelsey Mitchell, Leah Boston, Caitlin Clark.
40-minute games, could you play them the whole game and compete with anybody?
You're right back to where we were last season, where she had to play the entire game just to keep them competitive. Coming off of an injury, I don't know if that's a good idea. That's my biggest concern. I don't know if I want to put that level of stress and minutes on her after an injury.
John, you are not only our Fever guy, you're also our WNBA guy, and I think you counted out the Las Vegas Aces not long ago. Ever since that 111-58 loss to the Lynx, where we were all wondering what the heck was going on, they've done nothing but win.
They have figured something out and turned it around. Their start to the season was absolutely horrible. They started terribly, but they're 10-0 in the last 10 games. I was not high on the Aces at the start of the season, and after their start, halfway through the season, I was like, write them off. But you're right, they've actually come back. That's if we have a postseason, Greg. That's entirely if we have a postseason due to this collective bargaining nonsense, because I just saw...
looking worse and worse.
I saw a report today that it's not looking good, so we'll see what happens.
John, thank you so much.
My pleasure. I'm going to get on Ticketmaster now and see how much tickets are.
And, of course, we will get a report from John whether he goes to the game or not. It's possible we will have a reaction podcast afterwards. It's more likely we will talk about it on the next Fever Report, especially with me being a little under the weather. And finally, we hear from our IU guy, Grant Shouse, with the Hoosiers, just 5 days away from one of their most anticipated college football seasons in program history, if we're being honest. Indiana opens its season Saturday at 2:30 on FS1 against Old Dominion out of Conference USA, a program that's been decent over the years but should not be a huge challenge for this team, and if it is, that will be a concern. Indiana is a 23.5-point favorite heading into this game. On Tuesday, just a few hours from now, we release our best case, worst case scenarios for every single IU game, and it was so much fun. I was thinking way too inside the box for Mike Hutsell. Here is Grant Shouse with a preview of that podcast and a bit of a preview of Saturday's game against Old Dominion. Welcome to the Central Indiana Sports Report. Grant Shouse. Grant, IU football is less than a week away.
Can't believe it, man. We've been counting down this day since last December after the loss to Notre Dame. It's been a long road ahead, but Kurt Signetti said on Monday it's time to go to war. I can't wait for Saturday. Can't wait to be there at Memorial Stadium.
And on Tuesday, we're releasing our IU report, the best case and worst case scenario for every game. It was a lot of fun. Grant, as a preview of that podcast, what's your overall outlook heading into this season?
Obviously, the outlook's positive just with the expectations of everyone that's coming back and the schedule that they're playing, which is, I think, hopefully going to work into their favor. So definitely feeling optimistic, feeling positive. Honestly, going into last season at this time, I felt really good about the 2024 season, and me feeling good was them being 4.
That's right.
Not going 11-2. I felt good about them even going maybe 7-5.
That's right.
You would have taken that as an Indiana fan. So you obviously feel real good again, but I'm going to go back into my old ways of saying that every game's going to be a dogfight. They're going to have to compete, which I really do think is going to be the case this week against Old Dominion. And I know we'll talk about more when we preview the matchup on the IU report later this week.
We will, in fact, preview IU Old Dominion. And Grant, I'm not going to beat the dead horse here. Just an inexcusably poor pre-conference schedule. But that being said, of the 3, Old Dominion's probably the one that you need to watch out for the most.
Yeah, they're definitely the sneakiest on there for sure. Out of the week non-conference schedule, like you said, they are the better out of the 3 teams. Of course, you can't overlook every game. You can't overlook this Old Dominion team. They were a team that had the lead last year with 6 minutes to go against South Carolina in the fourth quarter.
Right.
Every game they lost last year, they were 5-7 a year ago. All but one game was by 1 score. So they played in close games. And them this week, they're going to be a tough team. They're going to be well coached. And Indiana's got to be ready to go. You cannot overlook your first opponent of the year, because when do the most non-conference upsets happen? They happen in week 1 because the David in this case, which is Old Dominion, is fired up and ready to go, and Goliath thinks it's just going to be a cakewalk because it's Old Dominion. You just can't overlook a team like Old Dominion when they play in that Sun Belt Conference, which is always a really decent conference every year. You have to respect them, and they're going to put up everything they have against Indiana on Saturday.
Grant, on the IU report this week, we went week by week, every single game. What was the best case and worst case scenario? I'm going to ask you the bigger picture, Grant. What's the best case and worst case scenario within reality this upcoming season?
The best case scenario, of course, is that they go back to the college football playoff. The expectation, because of last year among the fan base, among everything else, is now going to change. It's because they made the college football playoff. That, unfortunately, in my opinion, could work against Indiana this year, because it's now the expectation among the fan base. And Indiana plays a little more of a tougher schedule, where 2 losses, those being to, let's say, if they're to Penn State and Oregon, is going to keep them out of the playoff. Now, if they can sneak by one of them, that may be good enough to get them in, but we'll have to see. The best case scenario is that they win the Big Ten. We'll just have to see. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be fun. The worst case scenario is that they crap the bed against Old Dominion and just are not ready to go come that tough Big Ten schedule. So that's worst case scenario, and you'll hear a lot more about it on that special that you're going to run this week, which was a lot of fun to do with Mike Hutsell, man.
That was my next question. How much fun was that podcast?
Oh, yeah, that dude is a beast. He had us cracking up the entire time. He's a good dude. It sounds like he knows a lot about what's going on. I was actually really impressed with his knowledge.
Everyone should tune in a little later today to the IU report with Grant and Mike Hutsell. So much fun. Grant, thank you so much. Looking forward to previewing our first college football game of the year on Friday.
Can't wait, man. It's going to be a fun year. I got a good feeling about it.
Thanks so much to my guys, Will Retherford, John Robertson, and Grant Shouse, and an extra special thank you to Yorktown Volleyball head coach and future Hall of Famer Stephanie Bloom for giving us a phone call after the Yorktown Tigers victory. Going to be another great year for Yorktown Volleyball. Thank you so much for listening. Please share this podcast with a Central Indiana sports fan in your life. Help spread the word that the Central Indiana Sports Report is here talking about Central Indiana sports every single day. The Central Indiana Sports Report is a product of ITG Media, and I love Susie.